Wow, I guess might be harder than trying to win the 16th Indy 500. So stay with me tonight, and it's a terrific year. And again, thank you, Keith, for your kind comments and obviously your friendship. I want to also congratulate the winners, on the Price Waterhouse Awards. Obviously, I wish that we could be up there next year on this value award. So. And that's another goal that we all have. I think everyone in the automobile business understands that. Also, I want to congratulate Ford for the Car and Truck of the Year. I think that it's a great achievement and obviously important to our city and to the Big Three. I guess, Peter Brown, congratulations to you as you've been promoted to publisher of Automotive News. I heard Peter say the other night that he spent 17 years getting ready for this position. And on the lighter side, Keith, I'm glad that you're promoting from within. So anyhow, each year, this World Congress brings people together to discuss critical issues facing our industry. And I'm honored to share the stage tonight with Sergio Marchionne. Back in November, Sergio showed us the depth of the future at Chrysler. And I look forward to hearing his comments later tonight about the additional steps Fiat will take to reinvent that business. I also applaud Sergio and his team for their plan to invest $179 million in a Michigan plant to build engines for the Fiat 500 and other subcompact cars. Some analysts predict this will create over 1,000 jobs for Michigan. This investment is a great example of how the globalization of our industry can help bring much needed jobs to Detroit and the Midwest. The big question everyone has been discussing this week is how to navigate through an industry that is changing right before our eyes. As I thought about what I wanted to discuss tonight, it was obvious we needed to talk about the future of our industry, how globalization is impacting every decision, and how we can learn a lesson from what the steel industry went through 30 years ago. I also want to talk about how customer demands are changing the way we do business at the retail level, and the importance of financing if we are to remain competitive, and how the demands for new technologies like electric vehicles will change the landscape going forward. As I look at our industry, many might say we're on the road to recovery. The economy is improving, the financial markets are open again for business, and auto sales are increasing. However, I believe we face many challenges. Today's business environment requires us to think differently if we're going to solve the many issues facing our industry, and we need to adopt a strategy that emphasizes real change. Once upon a time, our industry thrived and was the envy of the world. We were the epicenter of research, development, manufacturing, and innovation. But times have changed, and we didn't necessarily change at the same time. In fact, I believe we lost our edge. Many thought we could abandon technology and the characteristics that what's made us strong. We allowed our competitors to take over the manufacturing and the R&D, and we de-emphasized technology. In fact, between 2000 and 2008, nearly 30% of manufacturing jobs in the U.S. auto industry disappeared. And our country lost almost 5 million manufacturing jobs too. These jobs are not coming back. As an industry, we've made it difficult to attract new human capital, people with fresh ideas and innovation to help us move forward. And we forgot about the fundamentals and the core competencies that bred our previous successes. In order to move forward, we need to clear away the false assumptions that things will be okay and face the reality that status quo doesn't work anymore. To do this, it's going to take time. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take our collective resolve. Let's examine a parallel to Detroit and the car industry. A good friend of mine is Jim Rohr, the CEO of PNC Bank. PNC Bank is located in Pittsburgh, a city which faced similar issues in the steel industry some 30 years ago. In fact, in early 1980, Pittsburgh was being talked about the same way people are talking about Detroit today. Back then, many in Pittsburgh believed that the steel industry would survive, that steel mills would reopen and bring jobs back to town. They stuck to the status quo and didn't have a plan. Guess what? You know, the steel mills never reopened, and Pittsburgh became a dead city. Back then, 10% of Pittsburgh's workforce worked in the steel industry. Today, that number is 1%. It took them 30 years of innovation, hard work, a commitment between public and private enterprises to reinvent themselves. They invested in education, they invested in technology. Today, research is one of Pittsburgh's largest industries. They have over 150 laboratories, thousands of scientists and engineers. Recently, they hosted the G20 summit to showcase the city's economic recovery. And President Obama declared that Pittsburgh had transformed itself from a steel city to a center of high-tech innovation. The challenges the U.S. auto industry faces are similar to that of Pittsburgh faced many years ago. For too long, our industry has rested on its previous successes. There have been too many silos, no one owning assets. We created great domain expertise, but we didn't empower people to make decisions. Instead, we created an atmosphere where people weren't allowed to fail. People were moved from job to job without being held accountable for a return on the assets they were expected to manage. As a result, many of the advantages we once enjoyed now rest with others, and the U.S. auto industry fights for survival. But the Pittsburgh story tells us how focusing on innovation might help us turn this around. If the process worked for them, there is no reason it can't work for Detroit and the U.S. car industry. But we don't have 30 years to make it happen. Let's look at the car business to see how today's environment is making us rethink how we do business. As we all know, retail automotive is a big business. You know the numbers, but I think they bear repeating. The car industry represents 20% of the total retail sales in the United States each year. And according to NADA, there are approximately 20,000 new car dealerships in the United States today. And last year, those dealers sold approximately 10 million units. And that's down from 16 million units just 2 years ago. If you look back at the beginning of the decade, the Detroit 3 held 69% of the U.S. market share. By the end of the decade, that share shrank to 45%. Yet today, the big three still have over 2/3 of all the dealerships in operation. During this same